The Vanishing Maps of 1776. For more than 2 centuries, historians believed the greatest secret of the American Revolution was lost forever. But in 2019, inside a collapsed stone well in rural Vermont, a map wrapped in oilskin was discovered, one that suggested the Founding Fathers hid something far more extraordinary than liberty. This is the story behind that map.
The map that should not exist. The morning light fell softly across the rolling fields of Addison County, Vermont, as Daniel Whitaker wiped the dirt from his palms and leaned over the edge of the half-excavated well. The stones, slick with centuries of moss, bore the unmistakable craftsmanship of early colonial settlement, chiseling marks still visible under layers of earth. Daniel, a 42-year-old amateur historian with the tenacity of a seasoned archaeologist, had spent the last decade searching for remnants of forgotten colonial outposts. Yet nothing had prepared him for what he pulled from that hole. A tightly bound oilskin bundle, sealed with wax that crumbled at the slightest touch. Inside lay a map. Not just any map, but one drawn with a precision that should have been impossible for the year scrawled in the corner. 1776. The ink, faded but unmistakably real, revealed a network of paths stretching from Boston to the hinterlands of the Northeast. But it was the markings in the margins that stole Daniel's breath. Glyphs resembling early continental surveyor marks, alongside strange geometric shapes no American cartographer should have known at the time. And at the center of the map, encircled by a triangle of intersecting lines, was a single phrase: "The Compass of Worlds." It was the beginning of a mystery older than the nation itself.
Echoes beneath Boston. To understand the map, one must return to the year it was drawn, 1776, a year of rebellion, fear, and possibility. Boston pulsed with tension as red-coated British soldiers patrolled the streets and whispers of revolution stirred behind every tavern door. Beneath the city, in tunnels carved out long before English settlers ever stepped foot on American shores, a group of men gathered in secret. Among them stood Benjamin Franklin, spectacles glinting in the lantern light. Franklin's reputation as a statesman, inventor, and philosopher was already the stuff of legend. But few knew of his fascination with ancient knowledge he believed might shape not only the future of America, but the future of the world. Before him, on a slab of granite older than any colonial structure above, lay 3 objects. 1. A fragment of Norse-styled stone bearing runic inscriptions. 2. A strange metal disc engraved with concentric circles. 3. A partial map, the very one Daniel Whitaker would find more than 2 centuries later. Franklin traced the symbols with his finger. "Laid before us," he whispered to John Adams and the young surveyor Nathan Hale, "is evidence that this land was mapped long before European empires even dreamed of it, and someone wanted us to find this." Adams frowned. "This isn't the work of native tribes?" "No," Franklin replied. "This geometry matches no tradition known to this continent. This is older, stranger, and its builders understood magnetic fields far better than we do today." Hale leaned closer. "But why hide it?" Franklin's eyes hardened. "Because the British must never know it exists, and because the liberty we seek may depend not just on muskets and declarations, but on knowledge forgotten by time." Thus began the most secret project of the Continental Congress and the story of the compass of worlds. The surveyor's secret. Nathan Hale had never considered himself a man of destiny. He was a schoolteacher, a patriot, and, when duty demanded, a spy. But on the night Franklin entrusted him with the metal disc and a copy of the mysterious map, Hale realized he had been drawn into something far larger than espionage. The disc hummed, not loudly, but subtly, just enough that when he held it flat, he felt a faint vibration in his fingertips. Hale lifted it toward the lantern in his attic room, watching the engraved circles catch the flickering light. He had seen compasses of every sort. None behaved like this. His instructions from Franklin were clear. Travel north, past the Connecticut settlements, into the frontier where British patrols thinned. There, deep in the uncolonized wilds, Hale was to locate the 3 triangulation points inscribed on the reverse of the map, points Franklin believed formed an ancient navigational array. Hale folded the map, tied his satchel, and prepared his horse. He would never return. 3 days later, a British patrol captured him near the town of Hempstead. History records that Hale was seized while spying, yet nothing in the British notes described any coded letters on his person. What they did record, though mostly ignored by historians, was this. The prisoner carried a curious metal instrument of unknown function, which was confiscated and delivered to the officer in charge. That instrument vanished, but its echo would return centuries later.
The man who knew too much. 1776 was a year of chaos for the British command in New York, and General William Howe had little time for oddities. Yet when the confiscated metal disc was brought to his desk, he paused. The engraving was unlike anything he had ever seen, neither scientific nor decorative, but purposeful. His adjutant, Captain Abernathy, frowned. The prisoner claimed it was a compass. Howe snorted. A compass for what? Witchcraft? But as he turned it in his hand, he noticed something strange. The needle on his brass desk compass quivered, only slightly, but undeniably. He moved the disc closer. The needle swung. Howe set both instruments down, expression tightening. This is not colonial craft. Send a courier to London. I want this examined by the Royal Society. But the disc would never reach England. The courier disappeared en route to the coast. His horse was found. His satchel was not. And somewhere in the forests of Connecticut, under a moonless sky, a shadowed figure buried a small wooden box containing the metal disc and Hale's incomplete map beneath the roots of an ancient elm. The box would remain there for 243 years until the tree fell in a storm, and Daniel Whitaker dug up the land where its roots had once gripped the earth.
The elm that remembered. Daniel Whitaker stood over the fallen giant of an elm, its exposed roots curled like the fingers of some ancient creature clawing upward from the soil. Vermont's storms had grown fierce in recent years, but nothing about this uprooting felt ordinary. The roots had torn through earth that was unnaturally soft, as though something had been buried and waiting for a very long time. The metal detector he carried had been silent all morning. He hadn't expected it to buzz so violently the moment he stepped near the hollow beneath the roots. The box was small, no larger than a man's palm, and carved from wood that should have rotted into nothing centuries ago. Yet it was intact, preserved, as if time itself had spared it. Daniel carried it back to his cabin laboratory, heart pounding with a mix of thrill and dread. The hinges were rusted but functional. He pried them open with the care of someone diffusing a centuries-old trap. Inside lay 2 objects. One, a metal disc, nearly identical to the one drawn on Franklin's hidden map, and a folded parchment, sealed with a strip of wax bearing a crest Daniel recognized instantly. Benjamin Franklin's personal seal. Daniel's hands trembled. This was no coincidence, no hoax, no historical anomaly that could be brushed aside. This was deliberate. He lifted the metal disc and instantly felt the same vibration Hale once felt in 1776. Not a hum from machinery, not possible, but a resonance, like an echo of something unseen. As he tilted it, the engraving shifted color ever so slightly, catching the lamplight with an iridescent sheen. He whispered into the empty room, "What were you hiding, Benjamin?"